So in effect, each one was saying, I'm waiting for the other one. And nobody was in a hurry to switch except us. The problem was GIF had become a de facto standard. It's very hard to get people to change a de facto standard. It's like convincing them to all learn another language and stop using the one they used. Imagine trying to convince everyone in Turkey to speak Korean and stop using Turkish. Well, people would probably say, I'll study Korean when all my neighbors are speaking it. And it would be hard to get anybody to move. So, I mentioned that there were 2 patents on LZW. That's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be that 2 different patents get issued for the same idea, but it happened. And I think I know why. It's not immediately obvious that they cover the same computation. You have to study them both carefully to recognize that. So if the patent examiners had had enough time, they could have studied them both when they were both applications and realized that they were 2 applications for the same idea, and then they would have rejected one. But they didn't have time. They're rushed. They're under pressure to push the work through and get out as many patents as they can, because the patent office gets paid, at least in some countries, mainly by the patent applicants. And so they think of the patent applicants as their customers and want to keep them happy. So the patent applicants are told, unless you see a reason to reject it, it has to go through, and send it through as fast as possible. We have a backlog. We want to cut down the backlog. So I don't think any patent examiner ever thought about those 2 applications together. And thus, they were both issued. But that's not the only case. Remember that program that died before it was released? That algorithm was patented twice also. So here it happened twice in one little area. I think that it must happen fairly often. Now, we thought for a while that we had a safe alternative, namely JPEG files. And then a company said, I found a patent in my pile of patents that covers JPEG, so everybody using JPEG files has to pay me. Now, JPEG is not a de facto standard. JPEG is an official standard published by a standards committee. The committee had its lawyer look at that patent, and the lawyer said, I don't think this patent covers JPEG. So who's right? I don't know how that came out. I know that that company sued various companies that made products that made JPEG files, but I don't know what the outcome was. And it's quite possible that the outcome was some kind of settlement, and we'll never find out who won. But having 1 patent or 2 patents on a feature is a rather light form of the problem. Consider MPEG-2 video. I saw a list of around 80 different patents that supposedly covered MPEG-2. I believe 37 of them were US patents, and the rest were from other countries, various other countries. So it's hard to avoid so many. Now, of course, you can leave out the feature. For instance, you could make a browser that didn't handle GIF files. You could make a drawing program that couldn't write GIF files. Lots of other features might have to be omitted. At some point, the users of the word processor Xywrite received a downgrade in the mail. It was designed to remove a feature because that feature was patented. The feature was that you could define an abbreviation, and then every time you type the abbreviation followed by punctuation, it would expand automatically to whatever expansion you had defined. Somebody patented this in the 1980s and then threatened the developers of Xywrite. The developers of Xywrite tried to negotiate to get a license, and they discovered that it was impossible to negotiate with him. He kept changing his demands. So they decided to take out the feature, and they sent the users a downgrade. But they also told me about it because my text editor Emacs had had a similar feature starting in the late 70s. And I'm proud to know that I've had at least one patentable idea in my life. I am not happy that somebody patented it. Eventually, that patent was invalidated because of the evidence of the Emacs manual. Well, I'm happy that's one patent down, hundreds of thousands more to go, and the patent office keeps making more. So you can leave out this feature and you can say we won't handle GIF files, we won't handle MPEG-2, and eventually the users will say, your program is missing all the features I want to use. What good is it? And so you can't always avoid all the features that are patented. And sometimes a patent is so broad that avoiding it is totally impossible. For instance, the entire field of public key encryption, which is vital to privacy, was off limits due to a broad patent for about 10 years during which people actually wanted to try to implement it. It was feasible to implement it. And there was no way around that. So, avoiding the patent is only sometimes a solution. What about getting a license? That means going to the patent holder and saying, I surrender, what do you want me to do? I'll do anything. And most of the time, the patent holder will let you have a license, but it may cost a lot of money. Sometimes the patent holder says, I won't give you a license. I want you to shut down. And then you're stuck. I got a letter once from a man whose business was making computerized casino games. And he had been threatened by a competitor with a patent. I looked at the patent. Claim 1 was something like a computer network with a multiplicity of computers, each of which supports a multiplicity of different games and can show a multiplicity of different game sessions at the same time. This brilliant invention is simply a way of saying that you put a number of computers on the net. Each computer has a display capable of showing windows for various programs, and you install multiple games on each one. Okay, this invention was probably anticipated at some university in the 1980s, when they set up a lab full of workstations and installed a number of games on them, but nobody would have bothered to publish an announcement of this because it was too trivial to publish. It wasn't too trivial to patent, it was only too trivial to publish. No one would have got the slightest credit for having thought of putting multiple games on their workstations, but somebody else did get a patent on this. Why? Why would the Patents Office give a patent on something so trivial? It's not that the patent examiners are stupid, it's that they're following rules. And this is what the rules call for. They have to pretend to be stupid